These are 10 of the most wholesome episodes in Family Guy, starting with One Foot in Front of the Mother, where Chris gave up his newfound friends and popularity for the sake of Lois. So the gals are out on a little speed walking sesh when Lois brings up some concern she has about Chris and his weight.
I'm afraid he could end up with serious medical issues. I mean, maybe even a wheelchair someday.
This is probably the part where Bonnie says that's not such a bad thing. Chime in anytime now, Bonnie. Anytime.
Or maybe there's a sport Chris could get involved in?
You know what? That's a great idea.
What's not a great idea is reusing the same yellow and blue house to have them walk by, because over-analytical YouTubers like me are gonna call you out. So Chris decides to give a few sports a try, such as shot put and wrestling.
By God, it's the Griffinator from the top rope! Yeah!
Ah yes, the superior form of wrestling. Calm down, all you Greco-Roman fans. The only Roman I care about is Roman Reigns. But it isn't until Chris has a bathroom emergency that his true calling is discovered.
This isn't my first poop trot rodeo. I can clench and hustle.
The form, the technique, the swinging hips. Chris may just have the makings of a champion speedwalker.
So it's really just walking, huh? God, by the time he's done, I could foster another kid and raise him to play a better sport.
So after one trip around the track, several hours passing, and Peter going full-on Woody Allen, Chris wins his first speedwalking competition.
Winner!
Yeah! Great job, honey!
Go, Chris!
Wow, looks like Chris is a regular Robert Korshanovsky. Yes, I knew that one by heart. No, you cannot look at my search history. And after his success, Lois invites him to join her and the girls on one of their speedwalking sessions.
This next hill is really gonna test our mettle, so why don't you ladies draft off me until we get to the top?
Look, I try my best to be accepting and inclusive of all sports, but he's really testing my grace. Though I won't lie, there is something mesmerizing about watching those hips swing.
What are you ladies doing here? We didn't have a walk planned today.
Oh, we're here for Chris.
And it looks like Chris has used said hips to boot his mother out of the walking group. Look, once you've starred on ESPN's 8th sub-channel, you're gonna view yourself higher than others.
They're my middle-aged female friends, and lately it's like they enjoy hanging out with my teenage son more than me.
What can I say? They're respecting the grind of thighs together, and the hustle, as long as at least one foot is always on the ground. But when their hangouts go from walks around town to coffee and mimosa dates, Lois has to step in and show Chris up at his own game. The race walking part, not the having friends part. Slim pickings on his end.
Well, I'm gonna prove Chris is the same little turd he was a week ago by beating him in a race walk.
Yeah, that'll teach your son for becoming more outgoing and striving to achieve something. So the mother and son do just that, engaging in a moderately paced race around town, narrated by what feels like the first guy they could find who could somewhat do a Christopher Walken impression.
Look at them hoofing it through the streets of Quahog. That's a mighty fine walking.
Well, I guess Walken would know a thing or two about walking. But as they come up to the finish line and Chris's victory is nearly at hand, Chris decides to make a pivotal move.
Oh no, he's injured his hamstring. Dramatic music.
And just like that, another star athlete was taken down in their prime, all before they could get on that box of cereal that nobody eats. But really, this was all a ploy to give Lois the win.
You looked out for me by getting me involved in sports, now I'm looking out for you.
A touching moment between mother and son, and a great way to burn calories. They should have family fights more often if it means it'll be easier to hit their 10,000 steps. But nothing about Dan Quagmire's transition into Ida was easy for Glenn, though the two managed to reconcile with this big change in each other's lives in the episode Quagmire's Dad. So Quagmire lets the guys know that his dad's coming to town to visit.
So we're finally gonna get to meet the man of 1,000 chicks.
But not these kinds of chicks. Hopefully his chicks went on to live long, happy lives and didn't get ground up for people to eat. You laugh, but it has happened. But when they go to meet the lady killer, they kinda see him as a little less killer and a little more lady.
And a salute Rudy toot tooty back to you, my friend.
Now, there's nothing wrong with a man being in touch with his feminine side, but I think Quagmire's in denial about the whole thing.
I think that your father's gay.
Gay? we should all be so gay!
So Quagmire is adamant that he isn't seeing the signs, but that's nothing a Navy ball filled with men of the sea can't fix.
Yeah, he just knew how to stroke those privates. Oh God.
But surely not every man in this room has some compliment loaded with double meaning to give his dad, right?
If there was one man you wanted in your hole, it was your dad.
Your dad had the best in the military.
Okay, just stop!
To be honest, I'm not sure what the double meaning behind that last guy's words was.
Are you gay, Dad?
Oh, Glenn, I'm not gay.
I don't know, man. There was a guy back there who was very complimentary of a certain body part, but Quagmire's dad assures him of one thing: he's definitely not gay.
But I am a woman trapped in a man's body. And while I'm in Quahog, I plan to have a change operation.
Well, you already weren't crazy about your mom, Glenn, so now you can have a new one. That makes you feel better, right? So the day of the surgery rolls around and Dan Quagmire digivolves into their next form, Ida Quagmire.
Oh my God!
What do you think, boys?
I think Quagmire's trying to figure out if he now has to celebrate 2 Mother's Days. Flowers ain't cheap, he's gonna have to start budgeting. So Quagmire uses a dinner at the Griffins to soft launch the big change, and it proceeds with about as much grace as you'd expect from 2010.
I made a crumble.
Ah, how thoughtful. Throw it away in the outside garbage.
Your loss. You'd be surprised how many great desserts you can just get for free from people's garbage. But one question too many regarding grapes, nuts, and hot dogs causes Quagmire to storm off.
This is too hard. You know, you're asking me to accept an awful lot. I don't know if I can do this.
And you know, Ida completely understands. She was ready for the change for years, but never realized the effect it would have on those around her.
For me, it was easy. Do I want to be happy the rest of my life or miserable?
So now you're happy and I'm miserable.
Harsh, but this is just the circle of life. Kids will always have something to be embarrassed about with their parents. Don't even get me started on how my parents only eat algae. It's 2025! Have a burger for goodness sake. But after some time, Quagmire and Ida managed to come to an understanding.
I was selfish.
Oh, you weren't selfish. I realize I put a lot on you.
If only real disagreements could be solved like this, with compassion, understanding, and a willingness to learn. I mean, they can be solved like this, but nothing beats firing off insults on Twitter, I guess.
Well, all I want is for you to be happy. You're my dad. And if you're happy, I'm happy for you.
And just like that, the two reconcile and learn to live with one another's worldviews. A surprisingly mature episode from Old Family Guy. Just so long as you skip the insults, the jabs, and the scene with 30 seconds of straight vomiting. You omit all of that, and you actually manage to find something relatively wholesome in there. And Joe and Bonnie would have to find the spark in their love again after Joe's infidelity nearly drives them apart in internal affairs. So Joe's being celebrated for a big bust he spearheaded.
Great job, Joe.
Way to go.
There he is.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
Glad to see that after so many hiccups, Joe's surrounded by people who celebrate his successes.
I made a major drug bust today, the biggest one the force has ever seen.
That's great, Joe.
Scratch that. That's significantly fewer backflips than I was expecting from Bonnie. I was hoping for at least one.
I don't know if I can take another evening of sympathetic eye contact from all the other wives.
But at a party in his honor, he does find some appreciation.
I just wanted to say congratulations. I'm Nora. I just joined the force.
Well, she's not looking at him with pity, so this has already started out better than most of his interactions.
You know how they say never meet your heroes? Well, they don't say anything about kissing them.
They also don't say anything against shivving your hero in the parking lot, but most sensible people can realize what not to do. Joe feels conflicted about the whole thing, but his boys are ready to dap him up.
Way to go, Joe. Did you bang her?
What? Of course not, Quagmire.
I think Quagmire forgets not everyone's a scumbag like him. Though according to the guys, Joe should be allowed a freebie.
Didn't Bonnie have that affair in Paris?
I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, if the show's referencing actual continuity, then you just know it's serious.
You owe it to Bonnie to have sex with this woman. It's for the good of your marriage.
Making things worse does have a tendency to fix things after all. At least that's what Quagmire in his bizarro world would have you believe. But Joe just can't bring himself to do it, so he tries to cut things off with his crush.
It's not that I don't find you attractive. I do. I'm married.
Yeah, he's perfectly happy with a wife who loves, who lives with him.
I meant to call someone else.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how is everything?
Well, you know what would fill the void in his heart? A little messing around in a handicap stall.
Did you bring protection?
Oh, don't worry, nothing comes out of the front.
Everything I know about Joe's body has been against my will, and I'm not the happiest about it. But Joe comes to quickly regret his actions.
I just feel really guilty. I'm not mad at Bonnie anymore, I'm just mad at myself.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't hear that so well. Can you maybe say it one more time, a little louder, directly into the baby monitor?
You cheated on me? You
But look, now they're even. Joe had the cop lady and Bonnie had that French guy. But it turns out that the last one didn't actually happen.
Yeah, but Peter said...
Lois, didn't you say that Bonnie slept with him?
No, Peter, I said she wanted to.
Oh, well that's okay then. Emotional cheating and physical cheating are two sides of the same coin, and it looks like Joe and Bonnie's future together is a toss-up.
I want a divorce!
You got it!
So Joe's getting ready to move out, but he can't help but think of the day he and Bonnie first met. Toto was playing, love was in the air, and a guy threw a flower at the wall for some reason.
All we gotta do is find a way to recreate the magic of that night.
And to Peter's credit, he does manage to faithfully reenact that night enough to get Joe and Bonnie to talk to each other again.
I just want to say I'm sorry. I was a real ass, and I miss you.
I'm sorry, too.
And when you reconnect with your loved one like that, you don't just kiss them. Damn it, you throw it back in the name of love. So crisis averted, love still remains true, and we got to see Joe's sick lap dance skills. If I were Bonnie, I'd be a fool to ever give up on a man that flexible. But Meg would flexibly change from innocent girl to hardened criminal and dial Meg for murder, leading Brian to prove that people do care for her. So Brian's finally able to make some money with his writing when he meets the editor of a teen magazine at a rodeo.
We're looking for someone to write a piece on the everyday activities of the average American teenage girl.
Well, it just so happens that teenage girls are one of Brian's favorite things to study. Online, on the street, from the window of a car with binoculars. He just can't stop studying them. But Brian doesn't have any average teen girls at his disposal, so Meg will have to do.
You know, Brian, just because you're writing a profile on teenage girls, it doesn't mean you have to be a creepy stalker and follow Meg around all day.
Is there any other way Brian knows? To be fair, sit-down interviews don't always get into the nitty-gritty, and Meg just so happens to be hiding something nitty and gritty.
Oh my God! Meg's dating a convict!
Dang, I didn't realize the dating pool was this bad nowadays.
Oh, I don't expect you to wait for me, Meg.
No, I will, Luke. If it takes 10 years or 20 years, I will be here when you get out.
Seems like a respectful, consenting relationship between two teens. But isn't there someone you forgot to ask, like your family dog?
Brian, you bastard! How could you do this to me?
I'm sorry, Meg. I had to tell them.
But shocker, a criminal isn't exactly keen on following rules and orders.
What are you doing here?
I escaped, Meg. I escaped because I just couldn't bear another second away from you.
That right there is the power of love, and maybe the power of shanking a prison guard with a filed-down toothbrush. But their reunion doesn't last long once they're caught, leading to Joe arresting Luke and his accomplices.
You're under arrest for harboring an escaped convict.
Sure, their futures might be irreparably ruined, but you gotta admit, this is still one hell of a meet-cute. But after 3 months, Meg's ready to return home to a life of boring old normalcy.
I'm home. You're all my now.
Okay.
No need to tell Stewie twice. He's got his collar and leash ready to go and everything. And Meg isn't messing around. She's more than ready to mark her territory and show that she's the top dog.
My house now, Now who's the funniest?
I know my way around a joke.
I appreciate Peter's commitment to physical comedy, but I think this stopped being funny the moment Meg curb stomped the teeth out of his mouth. But if there's one positive to take away from this whole change, it's that Meg is at least standing up for herself now, albeit pretty aggressively. Hey, at least she's using recyclable materials. Stone cold and earth conscious? I like this new Meg. But the rest of the family isn't as much of a fan, fearing to stand up to her.
Stewie was really laying into Meg about something.
Yeah, it was Stewie.
Definitely Stewie.
Oh, so now everyone understands me.
Well, babies do make the best shields for punishment. The family might want to pick up a few more and deck themselves out like this. Brian didn't seem to get the memo because Meg has him at gunpoint and is forcing him to take her on a crime spree.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Give me your money.
Weird to think that if you tried to do this at a pharmacy nowadays, you'd probably get like 20 bucks. I don't even remember the last time I paid for anything in cash.
What do I care if I go back to prison? Nobody cares about me anyway!
But Brian would beg to differ as he shows Meg the article he wrote about her, giving insight into the version of Meg he sees.
Meg Griffin is not the typical American girl. She is far sweeter and kinder than that.
He does clarify he's talking about the version of Meg that isn't holding a gun. But Brian's words get through to her and she vows to give up the new hardened life she's living.
Thanks for reminding me who I really am.
Despite all the violence of the episode, the ending is quite heartwarming to see that Meg is seen and loved even when she doesn't always feel like it. Granted, her family could make that a little more apparent, but while Meg isn't a lost cause, I can't really say the same for the rest of the family. But Peter would finally see Meg as a blessing when she beats a man up in front of him, causing him to ultimately respect her and road to Rupert. So Peter's feeling like a daredevil and wants to try to jump over some cars, but Lois thinks he's gonna hurt himself.
Lois, I don't come down to Burger King and tell you how to do your job.
Peter, I don't work at Burger.
I don't work at Burger King.
It'll be fine, Lois. Brain damage is like chicken pox. You can't get it again if you've already had it. People will just go to a stadium and watch this stuff for 2 hours. And that's why America is so special. But uh-oh, the party police are here to suspend Peter's license. But he's gonna make Joe work for it.
This is in poor taste, Peter. You're starting to me up. You're starting to me off!
One of the only times I'll be behind police brutality is when it's directed at Peter. But no driving means Peter's always around to annoy Lois, so she decides to enlist a personal driver for him.
Holy crap, that's awesome! Where is he?
She's right here, Peter.
Meg?
Yeah, Dad?
What does Meg know about hijinks? About tomfoolery? About buffoonery? A monkey would have understood the assignment better.
Well, it was either Meg or a talking monkey smoking a cigar, but I didn't think you'd like that.
Oh, hey Lois, this is Peter. Figured I should introduce you, considering this seems like you've never met him before.
Oh, this sucks. Can you believe I'm stuck with Meg driving me around?
Dad, it's just you and me in the car.
Yeah, and have you ever considered being a little less Meg? But at least Peter has the brain of a 5-year-old that can be quickly subdued with a little SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
And not long after, Peter gets the guys to join in on the torture.
Gross! Will you stop it? Stop it!
Don't worry, Meg. Peter's got a way to dry you off after that wet willy.
Hey, Meg, I lit your scalp on fire.
Classic prank, right up there with the torture rack and the Judas cradle. But their messing around accidentally causes a car crash.
What the hell is your problem, you dumb bimbo? Oh, God!
Yeah, those years of torment were bound to come out in some way. But she needs to get those fists off the street and into the octagon.
Meg, that was awesome!
And that little outburst has completely changed Peter's tune on Meg.
Meg's as cool as the other side of the pillow.
A phrase most people will get, unless you're one of the few who bought that cube pillow I keep seeing advertised on YouTube. That's an additional 5 sides of coolness to measure, and I do not have the money for that. And so Meg and Peter enjoy their newfound friendship.
But you know, Meg, I'm starting to realize I got a really wonderful daughter.
This probably would have been easy to see if he wasn't always burying her face in his butt, but unfortunately this newfound respect doesn't last once Peter gets his license back.
You'll probably go back to treating me like crap, huh?
Well, maybe just to keep up appearances in front of the family.
Of course, can't have them losing respect for you for treating your daughter right. But despite all the abuse, Meg will still have a special place in Peter's heart.
Hey.
That's kinda wholesome, right? I don't know, I'll let Meg's therapist be the judge of that. He may have to prescribe a healthy dose of moving to another country. But when Stewie accidentally traveled to another country with Quagmire, Glenn and Brian had to put aside their differences to find him in the Stewaway. So Stewie's gotten really into hide and seek. Like, really dangerously gotten into it.
Oh my God! Pretty cool spot, eh, Brian?
Yeah, but now Brian's aware of it. Better try the oven or the washing machine next.
Oh, baby, that's the spot.
A spot so good that it takes it to a whole other country. I'll have to consult with the Hide and Seek Council to see if I can use this one for my next championship Hide and Seek tournament. Now, if only I could find them.
Stewie? Mr. Quagmire?
So it looks like Quagmire and Stewie are gonna have a little bonding time in Paris. That's quite the character combo. What's next? Cleveland and Chris? Brian and Kevin?
Quags, you got this, right? Captain Quagmire, the Quag.
Stop! I can't believe this.
I don't think Peter does either. It's this easy to get rid of one of your kids? Gonna pencil in a trip to Bali for Meg real soon. But it turns out that Quagmire and Stewie have quite a lot in common.
What do you like? Goo goo. The dolls? Gaga. The lady? Aha, now you're talking my language.
I guess music is a pretty wholesome thing to have in common. They could have bonded over the fact that they're both criminals.
You know, I envy you, Stewie. I used to be innocent like you. I've killed people.
Yeah, you two are just a couple of peas in a very disturbing, very arrestable pod. So the unlikely pair live like the Parisians live, by looking at high art and drinking wine all day with every meal. That last one isn't a dunk, you guys got it figured out.
I love you, man. I love you too, man.
Although I'm not entirely sure babies are allowed to drink over there. Then again, wine is so in the French's blood, the babies may be drinking it through breast milk anyway.
I mean, I love your dad, but he's not very sensitive.
Kinda sounds like the fellas should skip the beers next time and just have a nice sappy wine sesh so they can have cutesy moments like this. But when they try to head back to their hotel, Quagmire loses track of Stewie.
Stewie! Stewie, where are you?
Have some class, Glenn. Nobody likes a subway shouter. So Quagmire looks all over the city, but isn't able to find him. It looks like the only way to bring him back is a deal with the literal devil.
What is up? I lost Stewie in Paris. We got separated and I can't find him.
Close enough. But Brian's willing to lend a hand for a small, spiteful fee.
I'll fly you to Paris.
First class and no male flight attendants in my area.
A rescue mission for your best friend probably isn't the ideal time to try to join the Mile High Club, my guy. But even with Brian's heightened sense of smell and knowledge of Stewie, they're still having trouble finding him.
I'm a loser. I'd do anything to get him back. I really miss him.
He means it, too. Any friendship that manages to make Quagmire and Brian put aside their differences should be protected at all costs. But after enough snooping around, they finally managed to track down Stewie in a cemetery. Above the ground, thankfully.
He told me you guys were playing hide and seek, but that you were too good a player for him.
He did?
Their reunion even leads to a mythical Brian and Quagmire hug. I thought those were only the stuff of legends. Newer Family Guy episodes don't always have the heart of the earlier seasons, but every now and then they manage to really warm the cockles of the heart. And when was the last time your cockles were warmed? Gotta stay on top of the upkeep of those cockles. And nothing was more heartwarming than seeing Peter and Meg bond on a road trip, with Peter actually getting emotional about how quickly Meg is growing up in the episode Meg Stinks. So there's a college fair going on at school, and Principal Shepard has locked Meg in for an interview with her top choice.
Green Mountain College? Oh my god, that's my first choice. Can one of you guys take me up there?
Well, that's probably better than Blue Mountain College. There's some weird stuff that goes on over there. But which of the parents will receive the privilege of taking her there?
I'd be happy to take you, Meg.
Now that's a father willing to unwillingly have his arm snapped for his daughter. So Meg and Peter hit the road, passing the time by getting to know each other like people on a first date.
Meg, what are you doing?
Just letting the wind wave my hand. Sometimes I like to pretend that I'm flying. Plus it tickles.
That's stupid.
Which means it's something he was born to do.
The wind wants my hand to go back, but I'm not letting it. I'm stronger than air.
Well, better to lose the evil hand than the good one. Did you know some cultures used to view left-handed people as lesser or downright evil? History just goes to show we are dumb and will continue to be dumb. Anyway, the two stop at a diner where Meg gets her usual, a side of gross negligence from her dad.
I ordered you nothing.
What else is new?
Well, Peter respecting Meg is new, and that's exactly what he starts to do when he hears the song she has queued up.
Hey, night moves. At least there's one cool person in this dump. I wonder who played this.
I did.
Turns out Meg picked up a lot of her interests from growing up around Peter. This might be news to Peter, since I think he forgets he has a daughter most of the time.
I never knew you were listening. Never even knew you were there. Wait, were you that little fat boy with the glasses?
Well, no, but also, yeah, kinda. But over time, Meg managed to learn a lot about her dad.
And you know a lot about me, right?
I think even if he had said no, it would have been less heartbreaking than this. And Meg's led to believe that if Meg hadn't been born, Peter could have chased his career aspirations.
No wonder you hate me.
I don't hate you, Meg. You're my kid.
Yeah, but that doesn't really sound like an opinion, that's just a general fact. But the bonding doesn't stop there, as the two stop by a college keg party. There are very few pleasures in life like drinking with your dad and then peeing off a balcony together.
Sword fight!
Gonna get ya!
You got a funny little wiener, but you're a nice guy, Meg.
Terrific, now I gotta get the bleach out to scrub my brain again. But even though they went all the way to Meg's favorite college, she completely blew off her interview.
We didn't go. I slept right through it.
What?
Yeah, it was awesome. We stayed up all night partying.
And that's the authentic college experience right there. Maybe she can keep it going and ask for an assignment extension she definitely doesn't deserve. But Meg sees this as a positive because she got to spend quality time with Peter.
Dad and I had a great time. We went to a party. We bonded for the first time in our lives.
An honest-to-God more impressive feat than actually getting into college. She should just take this W and go to trade school to become a plumber like she's always been destined to do. But hanging out with Peter gets tiring after a while, which Meg experiences firsthand.
Had enough yet?
Yes. I don't know how you do it. Everything he does is exhausting.
Dissociation and a lot of wine, I'd have to guess. So Meg makes the difficult decision to step away from Peter and go off to college on her own.
Dad, I don't need you to be my friend. I need you to be my father.
Well, that is too much to ask, Meg.
Don't we know it? But Peter is actually pretty upset by Meg's decision, showing that he's finally learned to care for Meg. 18 years late, but at least he got there.
I hate the passage of time. My little girl's growing up.
It's weirdly moving to see how emotional he gets about this. He doesn't even hit her with a fart to the face for old time's sake. This kind of character progression almost brings a tear to my eye. And it would take tears, flashbacks, and a near-death experience to make Peter see how much Lois matters to him in the episode Death Lives. So Lois and Peter's anniversary is coming up, which would be exciting if Peter weren't such a bad gift giver.
My goodness, a human thumb. Where did you ever find this?
It was on eBay.
I miss eBay. Can't find a human thumb on Amazon. Thanks a lot, Bezos.
Peter, tomorrow's your anniversary.
Ah, crap. If Lois finds out I'm ditching her to play golf, she'll hit me with a frying pan.
But Peter has a plan. Send her on a long scavenger hunt to find a gift that doesn't exist. With her being busy, Peter can hopefully come up with a gift or a new name for when he inevitably has to flee Quahog for his life.
Peter, let's pack it in. There's too much water out here.
Yeah, let's hit the bar, huh?
Oh, come on. There's worse things in life than rain.
You'd think skipping your anniversary would be in that list, but knowing him, he's probably thinking like giant chickens and TV versions of movies where they edit out the nudity. But fortunately, karma works quickly, like a lightning bolt.
You again?
Yeah, Peter does seem to die more than the average human. Luckily for him, he isn't dying, but he is having a near-death experience.
So when am I gonna die?
About 2 years after your wife divorces you.
Well, that's quick. Are you sure Lois is his wife and not just a full-time caretaker? But Peter doesn't think Lois will ever leave him, remembering how madly in love they were when they were younger.
Oh my God!
Even back then, the relationship was a threat to everyone in their vicinity. You know, from this to the seemingly perfect world in Meet the Quagmires, all signs are pointing to why Lois and Peter shouldn't be together.
I can't put you back until you have a revelation. You know, one of those things that changes your life.
But not revelations like in the Bible. You know, the one where we get big kaijus and guys riding multicolored horses. That last one's gonna be huge for the brony community. But while Peter figures that out, he has another memory of meeting Lois's dad for the first time.
Peter, what do you think of this bronze statue?
It's nice.
It's early Etruscan.
Oh, get out of here.
No, seriously.
Oh, that's great.
And that was Carter being polite. But Peter's coming no closer to having a revelation, so Death just decides to call it quits.
Why should I help some guy save his marriage when I can't even get a girl?
Well, Peter might be the last guy you'd want dating advice from, but it doesn't look like Death has many options.
All we gotta do is get you a little fixed up, you know, get your hair cut, give you a good clean. Ah!
Yeah, I'd be terrified too. Maggots on your skull is such an early 2000s trend. Can't believe we all collectively thought those were cool. Don't lie, you know you did. So Peter takes Death to the beach, only for him to strike out with the girls.
Do you, live around here?
No, I live with my mom.
Hey now, lots of people still live with their parents. But if you're still doing it after millions of years like Death, it might just be over for you. But Death actually has a specific girl in mind.
Her name's Amy. She works at a pet store.
Is that where the kids are meeting each other nowadays? God, I am so out of the loop.
Amy, you want to go somewhere and grab a coffee?
Sure, I get off at 2.
Great.
But while Peter is helping Death score, Lois is ready to start swinging when she's tipped off by Loretta.
He's down at Barrington with Brian and Quagmire.
He's golfing? On our anniversary?
Not sure if Lois can kill a dead man, but it sounds like we're gonna find out. But meanwhile, Peter remembers just how much Lois meant to him back then when he passed up $1 million check from Carter to stay away from her.
No deal. Lois may be worth $1 million to you, but to me, she's worthless.
I think priceless was the word he was looking for, but we get it. He gave up a fortune to be with her, and now he can't even spend time with her on their anniversary. So the revelation is he should spend time with his wife? Incredible.
Before we go, I need you to do me one more favor.
Which happens to be kidnapping Peter Frampton so he can sing Lois and Peter's song for them. I love it when a last-minute supernatural plan comes together.
Happy anniversary, Lois.
This is the most romantic gift you've ever given me.
While we joke that Peter's a terrible husband, this episode proves his undying love for Lois as he traverses life and death just to get back to her. Kinda sounds like he needs to be near death a couple times a year just to keep him in check. But Peter would come very close to dying from kidney failure and new kidney in town until Brian steps in to sacrifice himself to save him. So Peter's been having trouble sleeping, so his friends introduce him to Red Bull, which apparently makes your heart beat fast enough that it puts you in a Madonna music video. Now I'm wondering what music video Monster puts you in, but I'm honestly too scared to find out.
Hey, what's up, party people? Ah, what the hell are these things? Curtains or something boring?
Are you sure Peter's hopped up on energy drinks and not something else? Maybe of the white powder or crystalline variety? But maybe this energy can help him win big on The Price is Right. I guess Red Bull really does give you wings. Angel wings, to be precise. Tired of his hyped up antics, Lois gets rid of all of his Red Bull, but that won't stop Peter. Surely if you mix enough medicine, alcohol, and gasoline together, you'll get an energy drink eventually, right?
Kerosene is fuel, Brian. Red Bull is fuel. Kerosene is Red Bull.
Sound logic, but the fact that it makes you immediately pass out may be cause for concern.
I'm afraid all the toxic chemicals your husband ingested from his homemade energy drink have caused total kidney failure.
And without a donor, he'll have to endure the excruciating life of being on dialysis.
Is there any other way?
Yes, there is.
No.
Aw, but he's been so excited to use that gun after he pulled it out of a patient's you-know-what. But what's one day without treatment, right? If everyone in The Simpsons can turn yellow and be fine, why not Peter?
I feel great. Like I could go another 20 years or more.
Peter doesn't die, but it was a close call. If he wants to free himself from these issues, he'll need a kidney donor, and soon.
Well, what about me?
That's sweet, Brian, but maybe there's somebody else who doesn't down a bottle of Jack a day? Anyone? But it turns out he's the only one in the family who's a match. There's just a fatal catch.
For the procedure to work, we would need to transplant 2. But I only have 2.
You can live without one, but not both. It'd be like when Mike and Ike split up. You could have one, but if they both left, the world may very well end. So if they go through with it, Brian will die.
I'll do it. I'll give you my kidneys.
Well, they were gonna off him in a few seasons anyway, but at least this time he'll be dying for something noble rather than publicity. So with his days numbered, Brian leaves some parting words for the family and hopes to fulfill his last wishes.
Can I hump your leg for 15 uninterrupted seconds?
I suppose so, Brian.
And with that, he can die knowing he had a life worth living. But Stewie isn't ready to let Brian go, so he tries to convince him to live on the playground with him instead.
Come on, you can live without a dog, Stewie, but you can't live without a father.
But he can live without a Peter, although I guess Brian would really only have a few years left anyway.
I don't want to lose anybody. I don't want to lose anybody.
I know your best friend is about to die, but come on, man, have some dignity. And so the fateful day arrives, but Dr. Hartman looks like he's more prepared to bend over and cough than perform surgery.
I found another donor for your husband.
You did? Oh!
Me.
There must be a connection between compatible kidneys and who your voice actor is. We really need to put more research into that, right? Even though nobody died, it was still incredibly emotional to see Brian and Peter share this special moment of friendship that shows just how deep their love for one another goes. It's a great episode, but one that might have you catching side eyes from your dog if you keep talking about it. But the love between a boy and a dog would shine through a mountain of heartbreak as Stewie and Brian share a touching moment at Rupert's funeral in Dog Bites Bear. So Stewie and Rupert are revving up for a Fast and Furious marathon, and Brian is also there.
All right, let's get high.
In his defense, is there really any other way to watch those movies? But after a few hours, it's not the movies that tire Brian, but Stewie and Rupert's talking.
Are you gonna keep talking like this during the whole thing?
What? I'm answering Rupert's questions.
He sure has a lot of questions for someone with no brain, heart, or voice, which now makes me have several questions. But Brian just decides to tap out.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to the bar.
Suit yourself. Rupert and I are just fine without you.
But now he won't learn the importance of family and sniffing car exhaust fumes. Two of Art's greatest lessons. But even Stewie can't take a full day of Vin Diesel, so he leaves Rupert to watch them himself.
No, you're being a little... Don't go to bed angry. Don't go to bed angry.
Kinda weird to see a baby and bear have a more mature relationship than Peter and Lois. But these would prove to be some of his final words to Rupert because the morning reveals Brian may have gotten a little out of hand when he came home.
No! Rupert! Rupert!
And I used to think the worst thing Brian could do to Rupert was go to town on him. But this isn't the first murder caused by Jack Daniels, and it certainly won't be the last. That's my Jack Daniels ad read.
Bear killing!
Oh my god, Stewie, I am so sorry. I was drunk, it was an accident.
Sure, next you'll say it meant nothing. Stewie's the only one for him, and you'll spend the next month sleeping on the couch. I know how these murder aftermaths play out.
No wonder you two never got along. He always knew there was something off about you, and now we know what it was. You're a psycho!
So Stewie heads off to Vermont to scatter Rupert's ashes on a mountain, but Brian can't let him make the journey alone, so he follows him.
Do not take one step further, or I will hit you. That's it!
Well, a mountain is a great place to kill your enemy. Scar did it to Mufasa, Heihachi did it to Kazuya. It's quite effective. But during their fight, Brian let slip that Rupert's death was actually intentional.
I knew he wasn't a chew toy. I was sick of you talking to him all the time.
This just goes to show you that polyamory isn't for everyone. That's what this was, right? But now that he knows it wasn't an accident, Stewie pretty much has free range to kill Brian. Geez, does Brian's bloodlust know no bounds? But now Stewie may have no choice but to accept Brian's help.
I didn't want your help.
Well, you need it, so it's happening.
And as they make the trek up, Brian tries to figure out why Stewie's so upset.
Why are you so upset over a doll when I'm real and I'm still here?
Because Rupert was going to be with me forever!
Let's be real, Rupert was getting swapped out for an iPad in 2, maybe 3 years tops. But there's some truth to what Stewie says. Rupert could have lived forever, but Brian won't, and when that happens now, he'll have no one.
And one day, all too soon, I'm gonna be crying at your funeral in an Armani suit.
He's not looking forward to the funeral, but he's not looking forward to wearing the suit. But they finally reach the top, and Brian decides to say some kind words for the dearly departed and his life.
We wouldn't change a single moment. Except the end. Sorry about that.
No biggie, Brian. Most murders can be forgiven if you just say sorry, but they throw Rupert's ashes to the wind and all seems forgiven.
Thank you, Brian. That was beautiful.
But on the way home, Brian gets a little idea on how to make things up to Stewie. It's a sweet gesture, but imagine if your friend died and then someone was like, here, I got you a new friend. He kinda looks like the last one, right? But Stewie doesn't seem to mind at all.
Rupert! You've come back to me!
Jeez, man, this scene plus the Boys to Men song playing in the background makes this ending a suplex to the heart. It's just nice to see everyone happy for a change, but I'm ready to get back to our regularly scheduled suffering. And if you want to see more Family Guy content on the regular, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and check out some of the videos on screen right now.